everybody, and welcome in. Rivals.com, Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football and basketball and hockey on this Friday. How's everyone doing? The last day of February. And then we're flipping the calendar and getting into March, which is an exciting month. If you're a sports fan, and you are a sports fan, you're watching this, it's great to be with you. We've got a lot of different things to talk about. We will talk Michigan hockey. They're playing the last series of the regular season, so they're getting ready for the Big Ten tournament. Whether they're on home ice or not is still to be determined, so we'll get to that. Michigan football victory lap. Something going on with the Maize and Blue, with the pigskin that I want to tell you about. We are going to start with some burning basketball questions, but we also have some breaking news, and that is in the recruiting realm. In Michigan football recruiting, about, less than 2 hours ago, the Bear commits to Michigan. Bear McWhorter commits to the Maize and Blue. Congratulations to the Bear. I watched his ceremony via Instagram Live. The school did a wonderful presentation. He had his classmates. You could tell how excited they were. And on cue, cheering him. He had some former Wolverine offensive linemen afterwards. Carson Barnhart, I think it was Trevor Keegan. They put him up on the video board, congratulating McWhorter on his decision. And this was a real shock. The Bear is from Georgia, and apparently, I didn't research this too much, but I'm going to take people's word for it, that the Bear was named after Bear Bryant. And he had that Alabama hat on the table. And I got the feeling that the Bear was going roll tide, but he said go blue, and he is an interior offensive line prospect, 4-star, and he is now committed to Michigan. 6'4", 290 pounds, Cass High School in Cartersville, Georgia. He is a top 12 interior offensive lineman ranked by Rivals, 5.8. If those numbers, if you know what those mean, they're pretty good. All of those numbers, I could tell you that they're good. And he's got a name that seems made up. There are Bears out there. There are other Bears. Normally, those are nicknames. I mean, this guy's name is Bear. And his last name, McWhorter, if I was casting a movie, putting somebody said, hey, you got a big offensive lineman named McWhorter. What do you think? I'd say, yeah, it almost sounds a little bit too fictitious. Let's go with something a little bit different than that, but it's not made up. This is his name, and it'll look great in the Maize and Blue, no doubt. So the 26 commitment list: Jalen Pyle, wide receiver out of Texas; Brody Jennings, a defensive back out of Florida; Bear McWhorter, offensive lineman out of Georgia. You could say, oh, this recruitment, just like Brody Jennings, he's going to be taking visits. McWhorter, Bam will be calling him. They're probably already on the phone with him. Yeah. I mean, those are things that if you want to be worry about it, sure. In this day and age, I just get the feeling with Michigan and recruiting. It's not even a feeling. It is where it's at right now. Michigan is not going to be outbid for these players, or if they're making a nice enough offer. I mean, that's a better way, because everybody's got a price, and you could drive it up and all of that. But Michigan has at its disposal in their arsenal, bags to drop, and they've come up with their numbers, and these players are liking it and enough to pull bear out of Tide country and out of dog country. How about that? So it's different. It is a feeling wise. It's a different vibe, and it's an exciting one if you're someone who likes to follow the world of recruiting. And you do. You like to follow the world of recruiting. So do I. And it's a great time to follow. I mean, if you liked following Michigan football recruiting before NIL, well, now you got to feel like you've died and gone to football recruiting heaven. And this is it. Now you can look at, before you'd say the top 5 stars, you'd say, oh, no, Michigan's not going to be able to get those guys. Just cross them off the list. But since November, when Michigan was able to flip Bryce Underwood, there's been a change. And that change is pretty obvious in that Michigan can recruit anybody, and they are going after the big fish, and they are landing them. So great news all around for the maize and blue. And there was a thought. I came up with what I thought was a nice Michigan football topic, but there was a little bit of a pause this morning. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but I was like, I'm going to talk about with Michigan football. And then I saw that the Bear was announcing, but I was thinking, is the Bear really going to pull the trigger for Michigan? And, here we are. And the answer to that is yes. Now let's get to last night and the shot heard around the world. Namari Burnett at the buzzer for Michigan to pull out a victory late night at the Chrysler Center over Rutgers. How big of a shot was that? Burning question. Pretty big. Tomorrow is March. And Michigan, as we sit here and I answer this question of how big of a shot it is, Michigan is in first place. They will go into March in first place in the Big Ten with 3 games to go. They are tied currently with Michigan State with a 14-3 record. Wisconsin with 12 wins. Obviously 2 games back. Enough where you can look at these schedules now and think about what Michigan has to do. Win out, they're going to get a piece of the Big Ten championship. Michigan State loses a game and Michigan wins out, they can win it outright. So Illinois coming up on Sunday in a matinee, 3:45 at the Chrysler Center. And then Wednesday versus Maryland, a game that I am going to. I am going to attend that game, 6:30 on the Big Ten Network. And then the finale at MSU, Sunday, March 9th, high noon on CBS. And Michigan could be playing for a championship. What kind of championship? Whether it's going to be a shared championship or an outright championship will be determined by what Michigan does in these 2 games before that one and what Michigan State might do. And what Michigan State might do is, let's look and see what Michigan State might do. Do I have I thought I put their schedule up there. Maybe not. That's all right. Michigan State, they are taking on Wisconsin, and then they have to go to Iowa. Those are Michigan State's 2 games. Could they lose against Wisconsin? That's going to be Sunday before Michigan's game against Illinois. Sure. I mean, Wisconsin, they're in the top 25. Heck, what are they ranked? Number 11 right now. And, you don't even have to say stranger things. I mean, Wisconsin's going to have a puncher's chance in that game to win. And then going on the road to Iowa. Iowa hasn't been very good this year, but, playing spoiler, the Hawkeyes, maybe helping Michigan out. Yeah, you put a maybe on that one as well. But Michigan controls their own destiny in terms of getting at least a share of that Big Ten regular season title. So big shot. If they don't get that shot, you're sitting here saying, well, now your focus is going to seeding and the Big Ten tournament. And it's almost like these final 3 games are like, yeah, of course you want to win them for seeding, and you want to get one of the first 2 spots in the Big Ten tournament. You go to those spots, but they're still alive for something bigger and a championship, which in March is part of what it's all about. So very big. Now, I also think if they do whatever, if they end up accomplishing things where they get championships, then they make a run in the NCAA tournament, and you're talking about Michigan basketball. What was Michigan 24-25? What was Dusty May's first year? What stood out? Well, you will have a lot of things that instantaneously come to your mind. I think you'll always remember Area 51 with the Wolf of State Street and then Vlad. I think you'll also remember the shot by Namari, especially if they end up cashing it in and validating it even more by winning a championship. There were a lot of comparisons. I made it myself last night on the Michigan basketball postgame live show that it felt like the shot that Jordan Poole hit against Houston. And my reasoning for saying that it felt a lot like the Poole shot was that it was one of those games where all night long it looked like the other team. Michigan did have a lead, looked like the other team was going to win. Michigan did have an early 7-point lead, but Rutgers stormed back, double-digit lead in the first half, led by 8 at the half, came out back to a double-digit lead. It did not look like Michigan was going to win this game. And then even when Michigan was polling close, and, they made a lot of nice plays, it wasn't like their whole team was rising up. You say, oh, yeah, this is really Michigan basketball. Vlad and Namari played pretty good, but, and Trey Donaldson made one play here, and Wolf made a couple plays here and there, but those guys didn't play great. And then there were missed free throws, specifically by the Wolf of State Street, and it just had a feeling like Michigan's going to go quietly into the night. Nobody's watching because it's so late and on Peacock, and that's just it's going to be a little bit of a thud. And people are going to wake up today, Friday, and just be like, when's the spring game? That's a little dramatic about, drop of the whole season. But now, you're still in it. So we'll see how big of a shot that was. But I was also pointed out as I was reading on the Den and the Maize and Blue Review, other people also were thinking of the Poole shot. And there were a few things that jumped out. One of them was that if you are watching this on YouTube, Michigan put their game day picture out for the game last night, and it was Dusty May in a pool party. I really didn't know what that meant, but then I was watching the game, and the Maze Rage was dressed like it was a pool outing. And, Dusty's not really in his swimsuit or anything. He's underwater in a nice blue recliner, although that looks like it would hurt your back after a little while, the way Dusty's leaning back there. But Jordan Poole party, that's just one thing. Someone mentioned that it was a mirror image of how far Poole shot on the other side. I remember Poole was right wing. This Burnett shot was from the left wing, and there was that part. And so those type of similarities, someone else even said it was almost like, and I didn't see this myself. I've watched it a bunch of times, but I didn't watch them. I didn't go back and watch Poole. I remember Poole kind of did like a little semi splits, and Namari. The point was there that it was reminiscent a little bit of how Poole looked when he was shooting his. No matter. Those comparisons are out there, and I felt it myself. The biggest part is that it looked like Michigan was going to lose the game, and pretty much looked like they were going to lose all game long. And it was the same thing against Houston. And something happens when you're a sports fan and you watch games like that. When I went through the Houston game, it was dead quiet where I was at. It felt like, all right, season's over. And you're already making plans. You're cushioning yourself. It's over. The cushioning yourself for all of the repercussions from the loss. Well, forget March Madness. It's over and all that. And the same thing last night. It's like, well, so much for the regular season title. And then you get the shot and you get the new life, and it really does energize you. It really does. And that gets me to my next point about last night. Can U of M use the Mari Burnett shot for March momentum? And the answer to that is absolutely they can. The Mari Burnett, there's nothing like in sports believing in yourself, believing in your team, having confidence, being able to play for something, and that continues. I have to believe that those guys woke up today and sprung out of bed. Mari Burnett jumped out of bed and said, "Are you kidding me? Let's go. This is what I dream. These are what dreams are made of. They're still alive." I bet Namari is just sweeping through his house or apartment or his car. He doesn't need a car. He's just floating down to the practice facility, walking in, everybody dapping him up. And yeah, it's a great feeling. So can they use that momentum now heading into Sunday? Well, you just think about the other way. If they'd lost that game last night, they would not be walking in. They'd be walking in, but it would be more with their head down. And the coaches say, "Get your head up. We still have a lot to play for." And those coaches were going to have to pump those guys back up if they lost that game last night. That was going to be job one for Dusty and company. But we got to get these guys still thinking that, we've got things to play for. And of course they would. And if they don't win. But even during the broadcast last night, they had said that they had talked to Dusty, and Dusty said they were done talking about a championship. What I also thought was interesting is that Dusty was asked about the win. And at the one point he said, "Yeah, I'm not going to," well, he was asked about the result. And of course, it could have gone the other way. It didn't. So you get the great result. How do you balance those things was the essence of the question from Tony Garcia from the Free Press. And Dusty said, "Yeah, I don't want to rain on our parade of winning that game and having the big shot." But he said a lot of that game was like a long day at the dentist office. And Michigan fans are in this when they're watching the game. And if you're watching it online, like on the Amazing Blue Review, we have a game thread. And people throughout the game, some people are always like, completely positive towards Michigan. Doesn't matter what's going on. That's great. Some people are the other way. And then, you're getting people in the middle. And they're like, this team's not. And really, I don't know. The whole season hasn't been like a one long day at the dentist office. But there have been games like where it does feel like that. And, the dentist office, you sit there and, you could try to meditate. You try to do a lot of different things, but you got to take it, the pain. But sometimes, not every time after the dentist office, but sometimes, man, you go out in the car and you're like, "Man, that feels good. I'm glad I went. Glad I don't have to go for a long time." So hopefully there's no more dentist chair stuff. But yeah, we'll see if they're going to be able to. I don't know, but feeling great about yourself, feeling good, and having to play for a championship, that's some momentum. I think they have momentum heading into the game on Sunday. And if you think about what would have happened if they didn't have it and going in there and having to get these guys fired up to play the game. They're not going to have to get them fired up. They'll be fired up and they're ready. It just happens naturally with March. Everybody's like, now the games are cranked up. Now everybody's paying attention. These guys have to, do it all the time, but you're a big college basketball fan. You're watching all the time, and you know that March, but then now everybody's a college basketball fan. March, now everybody's an expert. Everybody's a fan. Everybody's weighing in. Now everybody, not everybody watched the game last night, but I bet that every Michigan fan now is going to be like, I'm going to watch on Sunday. Because maybe they'll win that game, and then maybe they'll beat Maryland to set up a chance at a championship. Regular season title against Michigan State. The next burning question is, having watched Michigan at Nebraska, that was a dentist chair type. That was a root canal, if there ever was one. And last night, for the majority of the game, until the final shot, was mostly like getting a crown or whatever else, the drilling sound. And so you might ask yourself, is Michigan basketball just setting everyone up for disappointment? Now, that's a real downer, but there are people that feel like this. And what I would say, I'm not all rainbows and sunshine and flowers and everything else. I get that, the times you look and you say, yeah, this team could be a disappointment. It's okay, I think, to even feel that way and say it. Who's not going to be disappointed in college basketball this year? Almost every team. And the further you go, the bigger the disappointment when you lose. And now, so here they are. Does it matter if I tell you that the expectation for this team was just to get to the tournament? So it's like a house money situation. I don't think people want to hear that. I think that if Michigan would have lost the game last night, I would have said it, and you would have heard it, and you'd have said, great. You'd have heard it, and I think you would have even agreed and shook your head yes, but it didn't do much for you. Oh, well, we weren't even supposed to win that game last night. We were supposed to be going into March in first place. So let's just be happy. I don't know how sports fans have a hard time with just accepting, small gains. We all want it all. We want to be entertained and we want to win championships. And when you're inside of it, it is, there's nothing like it. That's the part where if you're just always like this, the look on the lady's face for Saturday Night Live, the Debbie Downer lady, sometimes cracks herself up when she's saying it. Yeah, even if they win the Big Ten regular season, they'll probably get bounced in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Even if they win the Big Ten regular season and win the Big Ten tournament, they'll be so worn out that they'll probably lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. They're probably still not going to win the regular season tournament because Michigan State will be at home and they have Tom Izzo. This team will be one and done. I don't know. You can sit around doing the Debbie Downer routine all day long. And a lot of people do it because they know what they're watching, and in the back of their mind, they don't want to invest too much because you just don't want to be hurt. I get that. Is there a way? I don't think there's a way in sports where you can just have all of the benefits of winning if it somehow happens, and then have none of the pain of a bad loss or the season being over and it just doesn't work that way because you're emotionally invested. And I do think people are, I don't know how much I want to put into my heart. Is it, because you don't want it to get broken. So you table every one of your thoughts with, they'll probably just lose. And so when they do, you can say, I told everyone all along. I knew what was going on. I get that part. I've seen it. I think I'm like that in my Detroit Lions fandom. I've never rooted against the Lions. I always want to see them win. These last 2 years have been incredible, but the previous 20 or 30 years, my friends are such gigantic Lion fans, and they live and die with each game. And I would see them on Sundays, and I thought I was right there with them, but the absolute pain and suffering over the decades of watching my Lions fans lose their minds and scream at the TV, and I would just be like, I'm not doing it. So I'd say I'm a fan. I'm just not as big when it comes to Detroit Lions as I'm just not. I didn't invest emotionally week in and week out. And I always said over those years and years, but after a while, I was like, well, I think I've made the right choice. But I always said if they won the Super Bowl, like, I would enjoy it. I would think it would be a lot of fun. And my wife's a super big Lions fan, so there's that. But I don't think that I would celebrate and be boo-hoo crying, emotional as my friends, because I hadn't invested like they did and like they do. And I saw it again this year. I was out for that Commanders game. I was at a friend's house, all big Lions fans. Everybody was there. I mean, it was a party. And everybody just left into the night. So down. I've been going to a Super Bowl party with the same group for at least 20 years. No Super Bowl party this year. Nobody really, nope. Nope, my wife was not. It was all about nothing. No more football. No Lions fans. It's starting to come out a little bit. Hey, combine. No. Okay. Let's move on. Michigan hockey. They played last night down in Columbus, and they got a point. They got into overtime. They got a point. They lost in overtime, 2-1. And they'll come back today and play down at Ohio State in their last game of the regular season, 6:00 versus the Buckeyes at the Schottenstein Center. What does it all mean? Well, Michigan, they've played 23 games and they have 33 points. Right now, they have the 4th spot for the Big Ten tournament. The first place team gets a bye. And so then the first 3 teams have home ice. And if you look, Michigan currently has home ice. And the best 2 out of 3, all games on your home ice. It's what you want. Certainly don't want to be traveling to Penn State to have to play the Nittany Lions in the first round. Michigan has been very good in tournament play these last 3 years. They were in the championship game last year. They won it. And then they lost in overtime last year. The previous 2 years, they won it. And obviously, they're on a run of going to the Frozen Four. They are 2 points clear now of Penn State, and Michigan beat Penn State. They beat them twice in Happy Valley this year, and then they split. So they won the regular season series 3-1, which would give them a tiebreaker. So it's almost like they're up another point. They're in great position. And Penn State is playing, if you look at Minnesota and Michigan State, they're only 2 points apart. So Minnesota is going to want to win these games that they're playing. And Minnesota is in Happy Valley to play Penn State. 2 games tonight and tomorrow night. So the Gophers can help Michigan out, and then Michigan can get that home ice. So I would say things are looking good, but you lose a game, Penn State wins and picks up 3 points, and then look at how quickly it changes. Let's just say Michigan loses tonight and Penn State wins in regulation. There's your 3 points. Boom, 34. All of a sudden, they have done it. If Michigan loses and Penn State picks up 1 victory in regulation against Minnesota. So Michigan's going to want to fight like hell to get a point or 2 or 3 to continue things on. All right, we'll continue. We've got some football. Bear McWhorter is going to Michigan. And you want to know about, I got to hand it to Josh Henschke and Trevor McHugh. These guys put up the story of McWhorter announcing today at noon. And Trevor, sometimes, you got to know who you're dealing with, but there's sometimes just recruiting analysts and experts and publishers and senior writers. They try to grease the skids a little bit and try to give you some false hope. I'm not saying these guys did, but both of McHugh and Henschke were like, don't rule out Michigan. They, neither of them were outright saying, oh, yeah, this is going to be Michigan because of, the Bear and who he was named after and where he's, down there in Georgia. But the closer we got to noon, I think those guys knew something. And then maybe they were just, and then they spilled it. But I'm saying all this, you joined the Maize and Blue Review, you would have had those clues. You'd have known this about McWhorter. And you join up, and now getting into March and spring football right around the corner, it is one of those good times to join in. You do that and getting immediate access by going to michigan.rivals.com, and we'll see you over there. Let's go to football off the recruiting. McWhorter's the big news there. But I have a picture of Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham after winning the national championship last year. And so that was January the 8th of 2024. A parade 5 days later. Championships, what can you say? They are everything that you're hoping for, and you got it. And it was awesome. What I didn't think about was just how often that there would still be, you get the celebration. I went to that parade. It was freezing cold that day. I didn't realize after that how much there would be spots where it'd be like, oh, this is another type of victory lap, another type of mini celebration of Michigan winning it all. Last year, it happened when there was a pro day. And all of these reporters went down to the field house, and it was like you saw the Michigan had their banners out from the national championship. And everybody was like, this is how many players that it was. Hey, Michigan, celebrate Michigan's national championship. And then the draft happened to be in Detroit. Great timing for Michigan to win the national championship and the Lions to be good. There was nothing like the draft in Detroit, but I wasn't expecting as I was watching the draft, hey, wait a second. What's Sharon Moore and all the Michigan football team going up there playing the victors in downtown Detroit? Nice touch. Nice victory lap for the celebration. All the guys going up there looking good. Football awards, kind of the same thing. I kind of anticipated the football awards. I got that. But it gets me to the draft and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Colston Loveland And you keep going down the Don, where he's going to get picked, and the other players that you can go through and look at. It is, again, a time to reflect and revel in Michigan winning that national championship 2 years ago. Another victory lap forthcoming when Mason Graham goes in the top 5. Championship. Kenneth Grant in the top 15. Colston Loveland in the first round. Championship. There it is. That's how it's going. Will Johnson, same thing. And as they all sit there, Kenneth Grant, let's just say, Graham gets picked 5th. At some point, they're going to talk. This guy played immediately, demanded a double team, great use of his hands. You put on the tape, he's just outstanding against the run. Look at him here against Ohio State, ripping down the Buckeyes, the running backs. And, he was a big tip of the spear for Michigan and winning the national championship. You're like, oh, there it is. Same thing with Kenneth Grant. They'll show him chasing down that Penn State running back and at his size. And they'll say, this was someone who, think about this athletic ability, helped Michigan win the national championship. Will Johnson, the ball skills, what a corner. And look at this guy, national champion over and over. So something I thought about, and there it is. You'll get a chance to relive that and enjoy it. I remember last year at the Combine, they had Jim Harbaugh sitting there in the stands, and he was just sitting there, and some Michigan fans, I don't know, were they singing the victors? So they were just like, hey, Jim. And what did Harbaugh do? He recognized the Michigan fans there. I think he even had a Michigan shirt on, but he put his fist in the air, and it was like, wow, this is another celebration. This is cool. Surprise celebrations. So get ready for that. It's coming. I didn't get a chance to read the feedback today. I apologize for that. I got to run. I got to go to the airport to pick up my wife, who's coming in from Florida. I will talk with you all on Sunday after the Michigan-Illinois game, 3:45 start. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you over on the Maize and Blue review on the Den. Everybody have themselves a great day. Enjoy the hockey game tonight. Enjoy life. I mean, now everything's feeling pretty good today, pretty energized with everything that's happened. Have yourself a great one. So long.